Good day, students. Welcome to Cambridge IGCSE Economics 0455 Seminar for 2020. I'm Pushpa, your economics teacher. So today I'm going to guide you, the key elements that require for you to know on our economics as well as for our examinations. At the end of this seminar, students should be able to understand what skills you should develop by taking the IGCSE course. And also you will be understanding how you will be assessed. Most of you have this question in your mind, yeah? How exactly are they going to mark our script? And also we are going to look into the answers that you write. And also plan your revision program and revise by providing revision tips. So these are the key components that I'm going to emphasize all the seminars video, this 40 minutes video. First, how will you be tested? As we know, economics we have two papers that is called on your paper 1 and paper 2. Paper 1, it is a multiple choice question. Time allocated is like 45 minutes per paper. You need to answer 30 multiple choice questions. Each question has 4 possible answers, that will be A, B, C, and D. Each question is worth of 1 mark, and the total overall for paper 1 is worth 30% of your economics. Whereas paper 2, we have 2 sections, section A and section B. Paper 2 is a structured question. It is like 2 hours and 15 minutes. Section A, question number 1, it's compulsory for you to answer all the questions. Information and data will be given for the interpretation and analysis of real economic situations. Section A is worth of 30 marks. Remember, you need to answer all the questions in your section A. Answer 3 questions in section B from a choice of 6. In section 3, in section B, you need to answer only 3 questions out of 6 options. Each question in section B is worth of 20 marks. Each question in section B is worth of 20 marks. Paper 2 is overall, the total marks for paper 2 is 90. But we will convert into 70%. Are you all following me? In economics, we have 2 papers. That will be your paper 1 and paper 2. Paper 1 is MCQ, 30 questions, 45 minutes. Each carry 1 mark, so total will be 30. Section B, we have section A and, paper 2, we have section A, section B. Section A, compulsory for you to answer all the questions, carry 30 marks, worth of 30. And section B, you have essay, they will give you 6 questions, you just have to choose 3, and each carries 2 marks. So total will be 60 plus 30 will be 90. At the end of the day, we will convert the 90 to 70%. That is your format. That is our economics paper format. More, we are going to look into some examinations advice. This is very important, because we need to really manage our time right now. You have to read each question carefully and make sure you know what is asking and what you have to do before you begin to answer. Some students, from my experience here, they will get too excited if we see some easy questions, some favorable questions, but they will never read carefully the question and they will never know the depth of what the question is asking. So that one you really have to focus your answer on the questions. That is very important. Do not write something which the question doesn't ask you. Don't get excited. Read carefully. Then you try to tackle the question. You may answer a question about inflation and write all you know about the inflation, the causes and consequences. But actually the question is asking about a simple way to measure the inflation. Right? So we have done many times. That is the reason I say we should analyze the question. Don't get excited. When you see, oh, inflation, oh, I know about everything inflation. What causes inflation? What will be the consequences? What will be the impact of inflation? Don't do that. Read the question. Get the question, the idea, what exactly they want. All right, the question is asking about measurement. You should talk about measurement. How to measure inflation? CPI. All right, so you have to look into the question carefully. Then you tackle the question. This is very, very important. All right, don't get excited. And we're also going to look into the common words in the question. This is very important. Look at the common words, all right, in the questions. Identify or state means you do not need to write very much. Just show the examiner that you know the answer. Identify and state. When they say identify, you just identify what exactly the characteristics of monopoly, for example. Identify the characteristics of monopoly, for example. You just identify two based on the marks allocation, 2 or 3. Let's say the question is asking about define what is monopoly. Just give them a definition. Define, and I always advise you all by giving example. Just give one example will do. I am not asking you to give a long grandmother story on your definitions and also 2, 3 examples. No, a simple definition with one examples will do. Okay, and if you look into the second, say define means you need to show your understanding of economic term or topic. Distinguish means you need to show the understanding of differences between 2 or more terms. All right, let's look into the third. Describe or explain means what? You need to go into more in detail, clearly showing your understanding what something is or how something happens. Ideally giving a relevant example or using a diagram to help your descriptions or explanation. That is very important. Describe or explain, right? This is something that you really, because I think basically describe or explain always will be a 6 to 8 marks question or 4 to 8 marks question. So that's a lot. So you have to tell the examiners what actually they want, what actually you're talking about. Support your argument by the diagram. As I say, economics, all right, we just need to know the basic graph. Demand and supply will do. You have to play smart by just taking your demand and supply. Try to explain to the examiner. Okay? And also analyze, discuss, and to what extent required. You have to look into more in details. Analyze sometimes can be an arguable question. As I said, economics, there is no right and no answers. This depends on your argument. You can argue. But you have to play smart when you start arguing. You have to go back to the question, what actually the question is asking. Right? So these are the common words that we are going to look into economics. Don't get too excited when you see the exam questions. You have to really focus. Pick it up the right keywords before you answer all the questions. Next, on your marks allocation. This is very important. Marks allocation All right, you really need to look into the marks that allocated. Some students for 2 marks definitions, they will give me half page of the answer. For what? You are just wasting your time. Just give me a simple definition with one example for 2 marks. Just allocate less than 2 minutes for 2 marks questions. Why you need to allocate 7 minutes, 5 minutes? No, don't do that. Alright? So look at the number of marks for each part of the question. This should guide you as to how long you should spend on it. Some questions will only gain you 2 or 3 marks, while others be worth as many as 10 marks. So focus on your 6 marks question, 8 marks question. Spend more time. Write a solid answer for your 6 and 8 or even 4. You really need to manage your time. Mark allocation is very, very important. You should follow. Right? Whenever possible, use a diagram to aid your explanation and make sure that it's accurately drawn and correctly labeled. Don't simply draw. If you really know what you're drawing, you know your diagram well, draw and explain to the examiner. Okay, so that will refer to your answer. You can demonstrate to the examiner what actually you are talking about. Sometimes questions require you to include a diagram to score full marks. Right? That one I think we already talked in the class. When the question asks you, right, using your demand and supply diagram, explain the impact of monopoly, for example. All right, you have to draw the graph. Remember, because they will allocate more marks for the graph. They already ask you to draw and explain based on the graph. Some question, they just ask you to explain, but you want to support with the diagram, that will do. If the question asks you to draw, make sure you draw the graph. 8 marks or 6 marks, usually will go with 6 marks. 4 marks will be allocated for your graph, only 2 marks for your explanation. So don't waste your marks. Alright, you always must remember, we need to gain marks in CIE. We really need to gain even 1 mark that will lead to your A stars, A, B. So be careful with what you're doing. Alright, and also sometimes questions require you to include a diagram, just go ahead. Okay, economic examples. Next, we are going to look into the examples here, economics example. Use appropriate and relevant economics example whenever possible to support the points you are making. Sometimes the question will require you to include specific examples of something. Example, distinguish between direct and indirect taxes with the use of examples. If you don't include any examples of these different types of taxes, you would not be awarded marks. You see, if the question really asks you to include examples, give them examples. Sometimes you want to give your own examples, external examples. All right, that is encourageable. But you need to know, in economics, whatever the external examples that you want to share, it always must be within the 6 month period of time. After 6 months in economics, that particular example will become history all the time. You always need to remember that, yeah. We only will take the real life situation, which is like for the 0 to 6 months, what is happening. For example, let's say COVID, just the current one, which is like influence or which is like affecting the whole economic. We are not talking about our economic, the whole performance of global economy. So you can talk about that. All right. And we also had an issue, I think last year in Johor. where the river was polluted, Kim River, polluted due to the chemical, due to the cause of some industries, chemical industries. That is last year's story. Do you think you can write? You can still explain based on that? That's going to be difficult. You need to write what is happening now, 0 to 6 months. That is the reason you must be aware what is happening in economy. All right, I'm not going to ask you to look into articles or many articles. No, just go with your newspaper. Read in your daily newspaper. There's a section on business and economics. Just go there. Read. What is happening in Malaysia? Is our economics already affected due to the COVID? Or are we improving? Is our GDP increasing? What is happening? You just have to know the basic economics example. That will do. Alright, that will do. Just nice to score what we want. That's very important, yeah. Alright, now for IGCSE, alright, I'll just encourage you to go with newspaper will do. But once you go to A levels, once you want to do a degree in economics, alright, your undergraduate, postgraduate in economics, by the time goes, you will learn how to read your articles, alright, your journals, and more information and all that. And I think now technology, you can just Google. You're getting all the answers. You just have to go and disturb your Mr. Google. That's it. Mr. Google will give you all the answers. Then what's the difficulty? Alright, it's just a 2 minutes work, people. You just have to put a bit of hard work because as I said, we are not only one person who are sitting for the exam. There are thousands of people who are sitting for the exam at the same time. So if you want to create something better, you want to create a better results, you have to provide a good answer. Alright, so that is very important. And then moving on, other important matters. Alright, don't write out the question. This is waste of time. Just make sure that you write the number of the question and the subpart so the examiner knows which question you have answered. Clearly state and indicate that, yeah, you should. Don't waste your time by writing the question. Alright, just write the number, but identify and clearly write the numbers. That's really important. Manage your time carefully, very important. I already teach you how to manage your time for paper 2, especially 2 hours and 15 minutes. All right, I will go with section A, 40 minutes, 5 minutes to choose the right essays, 3 out of 6. Allocate 5 minutes for that, and another 30 minutes for each question will do. Okay. And then make sure you know how many questions you have to answer. On paper 2, you are required to the answer, especially on paper 2. Yeah, don't go and answer all 6. The examiner will only take the first 3 questions. All right, and question 1 is section A and 3 from section B. You should also do 4 questions in total. So the total in paper 2 will be 4. Section A1, compulsory to answer all, and 3 essays. Okay, so that is the important matters that I want to share. And then section 3, we are going to look what will be tested, the 3 assessment objectives in economics. The knowledge with understanding, all right, analysis, and also on your critical evaluation and decision making. These are the 3 objectives that we are going to look. Knowledge with understanding means demonstrate your knowledge in economic fact, definition, concept, principle, theories, and also on your vocabulary and terminology. Whereas analysis, we are going to look into your data. Select the data, organize data, interpret your graph, writing, calculation, diagrams, right? The recognize pattern, find and show the economic relationship. So these are called analysis. All right, sometimes they will ask you by just giving a simple calculation. All right, find out the PED and explain. You need to explain. That is called on your analysis. You should tell the examiner what causes the PED to increase or to decrease. Okay, so you have to look into that. And also on your critical evaluation and decision making. Distinguish between evidence and opinion. Reasoned judgments. Communicate judgment accurately and logically. Recognize the economic theory in various limitations and uncertainties. Evaluate the social and environmental implications. All right, the economic actions. Draw conclusion from economic information and critically evaluate economic data. Communicate conclusions in a logical and clear manner. This is very important. These are the three important objectives that I'm going to look in economics, or that we are going to look into economics. All right, as I said, knowledge is a must. They will give you 1 month for your knowledge. All right, your explanation, your analysis, the time you're demonstrating your graph, it's all very important. You need to know what are the objectives. Okay, and how do examiners mark? This is the simple marking strategies that I want to share with you. The examiner simply compares the short answer written in a predetermined answer space with a mark scheme. Alright, so they will try to compare, scanning, evaluating, scrutinizing, and no response. Alright, the examiner scans the whole space allocated to the question and to find all the key details. The examiner evaluates the truth, accuracy, meaning of the answer using information from the various sources. Scrutinizing when the answer is unexpected or not the same as in the marking scheme, the examiner must establish whatever the answer is a correct alternative. The aim is to establish what the candidate attempted to do. So you don't worry. You can move on. Alright, even though your answer is not in the answer scheme, we will look into it. Alright, no response means when it appears that the candidate hasn't write anything, the examiner looks over the space allocated to the question more thoroughly to confirm this. Alright, my advice, don't leave it blank. As I said, economics, there's no yes and no answer. Maybe it can be an arguable question. Write what you know. At least you will gain 2 or 3 marks instead of 0. Alright, please, these are some important things that I want to share. Alright, second, let's move on to, alright, let me share with you another component. This one, let me share with you on the let me share with you what you need to know, the topics that will be tested in exam. Okay, so these are some tips that I would say. In IGCSE, in CIE, from my experience, all right, I think it's very difficult for us actually to predict. So as a teacher, I only will guide you. My advice, all right, you have to know the entire textbook, the whole textbook. The knowledge of whole textbook by now should be on your fingertips. All right, but this is something that I can share. In section 1, the basic economic problem, choice and allocation of resources, what you should know. All right, so only can be able to explain or to help you to know what are the key components or key elements that you should know on that particular section. All right, like section 1, if you see the basic economics problem, the economic problem, define the nature of economic problem in terms of conflict between finite resources and unlimited ones. The factors of production, we should know the land, labor, capital, and enterprise. Opportunity cost, define the concept of opportunity cost. Analyze particular circumstances to illustrate the concept. And also you are looking on your PPC. Demonstrate how production possibility curve can be used to illustrate choices and resources allocation. All right, you should know by now the original graph of PPC, how it looks, the curve. You should remember. All right, and from the question, we can find out the keywords, whether the shift going to take into your left or right. These are the simple things that I'm going to share with you. All right, if you look into the allocation section 2, how the market works, market failure, the allocation of resources, the principle of equilibrium, changes in demand and supply, price elastic demand and supply, usefulness of price, elasticity of demand and supply, what you should know, the market system, the market failure, private and social cost benefit. So I only can help you by giving all things. So you just have to put a checklist whether you're aware of these particular keywords that you should know in that particular section. All right. So basically, I almost covered whatever that we should in textbook. All right. So everything is down here. If I will see, I'm scrolling down for you. You can see every single thing is here. So I can actually, all right, we will look into it very seriously. I will give you all the hard copy. All right. So we will go with the flow. I'll give you the checklist at the end of the day. All right. So you can check what you are aware, what you are not aware. That's very important. Again, I'm telling you, all right, these will be the topics that will be tested in your exam. Meaning to say that anything they can be tested. I'm not specifically telling you inflation will come out. Huh? Make sure you read inflation. Make sure you know everything on inflation. I never say that. From day one, I will never say that because I know, all right, Cambridge will never, allow us to predict 100%. I only can give you from the past years, when we start doing our past years, we ourselves will know which question, which topic will be the famous ones for us to actually to focus on. All right, so that is very, very important. So you really have to know on this. Can people? Are you all following me? I hope so, yeah? Okay. And beside this, all right, I'm also going to share with you, okay, on the, let me go with share screen, on the candidate response. This is on the examples of candidate response, right? We are going to look into the section, these sections take you through example question and answer from Cambridge on specimen paper. So it will help you to see how to identify common words within the question and to understand what is required in your response. All right, so we are going to look into 5.1 on question. They're talking, you see, they're already segregated for you, they already divided for you. All right, so we're going to look on by one. The common words, the command words that you need to use in question by highlighted and their meaning explained. This should help you to understand clearly what is required by the question. 5.2, they are looking into mark scheme. This tells you clearly as possible what an examiner expects from the answers towards your award your marks. And examples of candidate response, how to answer could have been improved, and also the common mistakes. I think this particular section, all of us will be excited to know. And many of you already asked me, Miss, can you share with us? All right, so definitely I will share this during our class as well. But this is the overall that I want to share how exactly they are getting into things done. Yeah, correct. So if you look into the 5.1, all right, these are the question used in this example is question 3 from paper 2. Now let's look at the question to see what the common words for this question mean for your answer. Define. This question part required to give the precise meaning of the maximum price. You need to define maximum price. Just define by giving one example will do. Explain 2 reasons why the supply of bananas may decrease. Right? Explain here you need to identify 2 reasons why the supply of bananas may decrease and how these reasons will be cause less banana to be supplied at each of every price. You see, right? You need to go ahead, you try to read the question and you try to tackle. I'm just trying to identify for you the common words here down here. All right. I'm not going to look into the depth of the question here. I'm just going to look into the common words. So when I say analyze, in this case, you need to identify and explore 2 or more factors that could cause a firm to produce in another country. All right, because what the question is asking here, analyze the factors which lead an MNC to produce in particular countries. So they're talking about MNC. All right, so you have to analyze. So you have to identify and explore two or more factors that could cause the firm to produce in another country. Again, I'm telling you, all right, MNC, multinational companies, it's more relevant to business studies. Don't get excited. Don't take every single thing from business studies and try to put in our economics. Don't do that. All right, you have to change into our keywords, our economics terms to make sure you gain more marks. All right, and D, if you see, discuss whether or not government subsidy given to fruit producers will benefit the consumers. So discuss. This question is asking you to explore both the reasons why government should give a subsidy to fruit pickers and why it should not. All right, when they say discuss, you have to talk on your both sides, advantages and disadvantages. Why? Do you think it's necessary for government to give a subsidy or not? You can argue. Okay, so these are the basic things that we should know on the section. On to identify, as I said, to identify the keywords, that is the most important one. If you're smart enough, all right, to find out the what I would say, the correct keywords, you are safe, people. Trust me, you are safe. Okay, so this is very, very important, yeah? And move on mark scheme. All right, so if you look into the mark scheme, they say define maximum price. What do you mean? A price that producer cannot charge above a price ceiling set by the government. So what it means? They say a mark for recognizing is the highest price producing allowed to change. A mark for mentioning that it is likely to be set by the government. That is the thing that we are going to look. So mark scheme, as I always say, is a guideline for you. You need to explain more, elaborate more, all right, based on the guidance. Don't follow exactly. You have to figure out yourself how smart you can move on the mark scheme. Mark scheme will be your guideline. All right, drafted answer. That's it. If I don't understand what is maximum price, I will go to my answer scheme and read. Okay, fine. This is called maximum price. Let me change. I understand the answer. I convert back to my own words. That is the purpose of mark scheme. Don't follow 110% from the mark scheme. It's just a guideline for us. Always remember that. All right, so this will be the third one. We are going to look into the example candidate response. All right, you see. Define maximum price, the upper limit on the price that producers can change. What will be their comment? This answer will be strengthened by mentioning who will set the upper limit. This will increase the mark awarded from 1 to 2. And I think if you give me this, I will give you 1 mark, and I know you are aware about it. Okay? Because you never tell me in detail what is maximum price. I don't know. Alright, when I mark your paper, you always treat your examiner as what? You know that. Okay? So, you should give me in depth. Then only I will know. Right? Write it. But 2 marks. Don't write it like a lot. I'm not asking you to write like half page. No such thing. Alright? Less than 2 minutes. Less than 1.5 minutes. More than enough. Just tell the examiner what is maximum price. By giving one example will do. Explain 2 reasons why the supply of bananas may decrease. Right? They said supply may decrease if cost of production rise. This would cause the supply curve to shift to the left and the price to rise. The supply of bananas may also decrease if it becomes more profitable to grow another crop. Farmers may use fewer resources to growing bananas and more of their resource, all right, growing other fruits. This will reduce the quantity of bananas offered for sale. What will be their comment? The second part of the answer does explain a possible reason why the supply of bananas may decrease. The first part of the answer identifies a cause of a decrease in supply. It will, however, have been stronger if why a rise in the cost of production will decrease supply, and if the reason has been related specifically to the supply of bananas. A stronger first part will raise the mark awarded from 3 to 4. And we know this is a 4 marks test. Can you identify now? Can you look into it? Now you know how exactly to prepare yourself to score 4 over 4. Okay? And C, analyze the factors which lead MNC to produce in a particular country. So this will be your answer, 6 marks, all right? So you can talk about what is MNC. What actually factors that lead them to produce in other countries? What causes that? All right? So by reading, you can look into the comments. They say, these answers provide a clear analysis of the influence of the presence of the skilled workers. Links are provided between skilled workers, productivity, training, cost of production, and profit. The candidate, however, did not read the question carefully enough. The question asks for analysis of factors. Factors is plural, and at least 2 factors have been analyzed. The presence of skilled workers is only one factor. If the candidate has included analysis of another factor, such as availability of raw materials, the marks have been awarded to increase from 4 to 6. Can you see? All right? That is the reason I told you, don't get excited when you see the questions. When you only see the word MNC, you start writing whatever you know about MNC. That's very wrong. You have to identify what actually the question is asking. You have to figure out the common words that the question is. You have to pick it up, the right words. All right? You write this much. You see, that's a long answer. And we are not going to get it 6 over 6. So you have to figure out why. All right? What actually makes them not gaining 6? All right? This is very important and it's a good exposure for us. Yeah? And B, discuss whether or not government subsidy given to food producers will benefit consumers. State marks. A government subsidy given to fruit producers will provide them with an extra payment from growing fruit. This will encourage farmers to grow more fruits. Okay, so simple graph, demand and supply. A lower price means that consumers will be able to buy more, all right, with your explanation, with your, all right, analysis. Great. Let's look into the comments. The answer is clear and two-sided. Excellent. There's a use of the economic concept of substitute in elastic demand and opportunity cost. The answer is on the borderline of the top level. There are a number of ways it could have been strengthened. One is that while the diagram is an accurate, relevant one, it is not explained in the answer. It could have been used to bring out the links between subsidy, higher supply, and lower price. So if you explain the diagram in depth, you will gain more marks. But examiner says this is a good one. Right? So now you can differentiate really. Now you have the opportunity to look into your A, B, C, and D. Right? What actually you want? What actually they're looking for? If it's a define, definitions, what am I supposed to write? Explain what I should not. All right? And analyze. What do you mean by analyze? You have to look into that. And also on your discuss. All right? I think this is a good one that you have to look into it. You can start analyzing people. As I said, you have to strategize your answers. Okay, so you please take 10 to 15 minutes to look into the question and look into the comments that provided by the examiners down here, the report here, right? What makes them to gain 6 marks? What does not make them to gain 6 marks? You have to identify the strategy. Once you know the strategy well, you will never go wrong. Okay, so this is the one. And how the answers could be improved. How you can improve your exam, your answers. Common mistakes. Candidate often confuse maximum and minimum price. A number of candidates devote too much time on the first question. You see, I always say that just don't waste your time. It's just a 2 marks, less than 2 minutes. Just tell me the definition and also one examples. Finish. Alright? So if you go to 3B, when asked to explain why supply may decrease, candidates often refer to a fall in the price. Such a change in the price would cause a contraction in supply rather than decrease in supply. Alright? So you have to explain. Candidates always refer to the fall in the price. You have to talk about the decrease. So they're talking about such a change in price will cause a contraction in the supply rather than the decrease in supply. Alright, so explaining, need to explain to the examiner what actually causes that. Okay, so these are the some common mistakes that we will do. Alright, not you, we will do. Alright, every day is a learning curve for us. I'm learning from you and you are learning from me. That's it. It's like two-way communication. None of us is perfect enough. Right? So therefore, don't do all that simple common mistakes. Don't do that. We don't have time to look into the common mistakes. We don't have to look into the simple mistakes. Don't do all that. Alright? So these are the some common mistakes include not preparing for the examination. To do well, you have to work throughout your course and to undertake good quality revision, giving imprecise definitions. All right, I already pass it to you the glossary. Right, go through your glossary. When you're watching TV, just put it on your lap, just memorize or just understand 2-3 definitions will do. All right, I'm not asking you to get everywhere, no such thing. All right, I know you have other subjects to concentrate as well. So you have to play smart, people. You really need to allocate your time. All right, and third one, if you see confusing economic terms and concept, there are a number of terms, including investment and saving, that some candidates confuse. Right? So all these are the some common mistakes that you will be doing. Jumping links, not answering to the specific questions. All right, what is jumping links? Some candidates to seek explain, but miss out some of the links. Right? They will never follow the flow is not there. All right, they'll be talking about A, and all of a sudden, before they explain the A, they're already explaining on the B. So that makes the examiner to actually confuse what actually you're trying to talk. What are you trying to explain to me? Right? So don't give opportunity for anyone to take out marks from you. All right, you have to play smart to gain marks, but not from the deduction. Don't allow them to do that. Right, please be smart enough. These are some general advice. All right, read question carefully, allocate your time appropriately, answer the actual question set, be flexible in your thinking so that you can apply your knowledge. All right, support the statement, indicate which question you're answering, write a clear and examiner can read your answers. Right, your handwriting. Careful with that. I know you will start writing, you will write as much as you can. All right, the more you write, the more you gain. I always say that. All right, in economics, always remember, people, the more you write, the more you will gain. Okay, so play smart. All right, so I hope, all right, I hope you all can manage your time. My advice is never do tomorrow what you can do today. All right, we always have this attitude. It's okay, never mind. Tomorrow we can manage to finish it. Never mind, never mind. Tomorrow I can do it. Don't do that. To be very honest, we don't have that much of time now. All right, so manage your time properly. All right, trust yourself. You know more than, all right, you know more than you actually. All right, don't demotivate yourself. Keep your chin up. All right, don't give up for no reason. If you don't know anything, come and see me. All right, do as much as you can, all the exercises. All right, keep doing your past years. All right, do keep taking all my notes. All right, whatever that I share with you in the class, keep. All right, go back to the notes. I think all my notes are sufficient enough, yeah, sufficient enough. So don't worry about my notes. All right, you can look into my notes, take things positively, don't give up. That's the reason I said keep your chin up. All right, nothing is impossible, people. Everything we can do. It's just our hard work. All right, so wish you all the best and see you. Take care, people. Thank you.